Thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, July, we are celebrating National Minority and Mental Health Awareness Month. And with you, I do know that you do advocate for mental health in the Black community. So I felt that it was very much important to speak with you, and especially knowing your story, I think that is extremely powerful and inspiring. So please, without further ado, introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Nafis. I'm from Philadelphia, PA. I just graduated with a master's degree in positive coaching from the University of Missouri. Uh, I'm on my way to seek a doctorate in counseling psychology as a counseling psychologist for the Black community, Black and brown community, because I think it's a stigma based on my experiences playing a professional overseas, and being from the inner city, you don't see too many doctors. So that's a little bit about me, and I look forward to this conversation, this candid conversation, and getting deeper into this conversation about exactly who I am as a person and what I stand for.
Awesome, awesome. Definitely want to hear like your background, your upbringing, how you started with the love of basketball, and where that basically led you to and where you are now.
Well, first, I was born in Philadelphia, and my dad had took us away from Philadelphia and moved us to North Carolina. You know the story of he got locked up and he didn't want to be in the streets, and he didn't want me and my brother to had that lifestyle and be in that lifestyle where he was in. So we moved down to North Carolina with my grandfather, Charlotte, North Carolina to be exact. And I kind of was playing sports. I gravitated to sports because I was in a foreign place. I felt like North Carolina was country, and it's like, wow, this is a dramatic shift from Philadelphia. Like you
That's
talking
actually
about,
very true.
yeah, like the city of Philadelphia, and I'm like, and mind you, I didn't, you don't want to be pulled away from your mom, but you don't understand. So me, as I was like, sports was my outlet to unleash my anger. So I
Yeah.
was really playing. I was playing. I think like all this time, I didn't notice this until like probably this year. I used to play out of anger and fear, so I would get away from like that was my outlet to get away from everything on how I was feeling. So as I got into North Carolina, I was like I was being bad. Like when I first got there, I didn't adjust well. Like I was
Yeah.
like a bad kid. Like I struggled. I struggled my first year because it was just like living with my grandfather and my dad, and it's tough love. We're not doing anything for you. You want to do stuff on your own, you and your brother. You want to wash dishes. You want to take out the trash. But it taught me a lot about myself because it was showing me how to be a man. But it wasn't like where I'm not going to hold your hand and babysit you.
Right.
So for me, I got the ultimate respect for my grandfather and my father. And as I got older, I had mentors and coaches in my life who really took a liking to me because I always trying to. My biggest thing, and even till now, I can see it in myself. I'm getting a little bit better, but I was always trying to be perfect for people,
Right.
just to please people, just because I felt like I never wanted to get in trouble. I never wanted to get locked up. I never wanted to feel like the spotlight was on me for something negative. So I was on plenty of teams where sometimes I was the best player, but I was always competitive. I could always see it
Right.
through middle school. As I got to high school, my brother was murdered. My oldest brother was murdered when I was 14 and he was 19.
I
So that was
really want to
2000.
dive into that.
So I was in the 8th grade and my brother was 19 living with my mother. So he was in Philadelphia with my mother. We have different fathers, but he's living with my mother at the time, whatever. So I'm in the 8th grade and you get a phone call. I'm at school, mind you. It had to be like 10 o'clock in the morning. I get a phone call at school. It's like my dad called the school. It's like, yeah, your brother was murdered. So my mind is everywhere. It's like I just talked to him the night before. So you don't expect to hear that when you're 14 years old that you lost your brother to the streets and stuff like that. The situation was kind of like my brother had a friend, a best friend, and that he basically told just to be careful with the girlfriend that she was dealing with. She got mad. Basically, when they go back and tell her cousin, oh, he's saying lies, and a little altercation, and they had words, and the neighborhood is around. Oh, you got chumped. Not talking about my brother, but the boy that came around, the cousin that came around got chumped or whatever. So what that leads to. That's peer pressure. You don't want to look like the chump. He went to go get a gun and came back with the gun. And my brother before it happened, my brother said, if anything gonna happen, it's gonna happen now because if I'm walking out the house with with my son and with my mom, I don't want nothing to happen. So whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen now. So
Wow.
I think he probably felt something was gonna go on or whatever. And next thing you know, the dude came back and they said my brother's name, Michael, and he started running and he shot him in his back and hit him in his main artery in his heart. So he was done as soon as the bullet hit him and his back in his heart. He was done. So he hit the ground, hit his chin. But my grandmother was the last person to hold him because it was on my grandmother's block. but she was the last one to hold him. And for me, it took a lot out of me. I mean, just because it was just like, I'm never going to talk to this person again. We're not going to get to build a relationship, like, because we was living from a distance. So I'm in North Carolina, me and my little brother in North Carolina, and my older brother, you know, you look at older siblings and stuff like that. So it took a toll on me, but I was really concerned with my mom and, you know, and my dad, and just to see, like, what's next for me? Like, do I entertain the streets? Because, you know, you get angry. It's like, I want to retaliate on a person, but I'm like, I'm 14 years old. What possibly can I do at this point? Like, what possibly? I got cousins, but I don't want to see them get hurt. And you know, it took me a long time. So I continue to stick with sports, of competitiveness of basketball, the physicality and stuff. And I think that was a part of my fear, my growth as a person. I was using my anger from all the stuff that happened in my childhood to use it or exert it on the court. So I feel like when I tell my story and I tell people, I had the best of both worlds. Now, one thing I think that hindered me, where I never seen my mom and my dad together. I never been in a 2-parent household where mom and dad was together.
That hindered you? Tell me, because I know that that's like a conversation about the Black community. I actually had a friend tell me that was probably one of the biggest things that kind of stifles the Black community, is the fact that a lot of Black families are not brought up in a 2-parent household. And I know personally for me, I'm on that other side. I was raised in a 2-parent household, so I'm trying to figure out what value is brought out of a 2-parent household as opposed to not, and definitely coming from a person who has not been brought up.
Well, for me, I think the things that I lack, I never seen basically how to treat a woman. So all my examples was outside. Okay. So as I'm like, get your mom some flowers. Like, I didn't know what that was until I got older, until I had my daughter, and like, okay, she's gonna mimic everything that I'm doing. She's gonna look at it like, if you're not up to my dad's standards, then I'm not gonna deal with you. That's what I'm trying to instill in her. So for me, it's like not having that loving, seeing mom and father, are we gonna do this together? It's more like, oh, you with your dad, da da da. And like I said, my mom and dad never got married, so they never was in a household. So when they split up, I needed, like, I was used to going over my dad's house. I was used to going over my mom's house. So for me, it's like, and then with my mom, I wasn't used to the love and affection. Like, I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? Like, I want to be up on it. Even though I was a mama's boy, I just didn't feel that connection because I've been with my grandfather and my dad. It was tough love. Like, get up, take the trash out. This is what it is. Yeah. So by the time I get back with my mom, I'm 16 years old. I'm driving. It's like, Mom, I'm not sitting in this house. I'm going out. Like, I'm going to play ball. I'm going to play sports. And I used to, like, sports was my thing. So I think that hindered me the most. But as I get older, I'm starting to learn more and more, like, what you got to do as a male for a woman, because women are, I feel like, especially Black women, they need that love and affection. And it's like, I didn't learn that. I know I messed up, and I can honestly say this, I messed up a lot of relationships with women in high school because I was being a kid. I was being immature, but not knowing how to treat them because I was acting off of emotion, off of impulse. Like, I thought things were cool. And as I got older, I'm like, wow, I never knew how internally that could mess a woman up by playing games and with their mental, because they understand, like, and I was like, I didn't understand that until, like, I'm like, wow, now I have a daughter, and I look at her, I'm like, yo, man, please, I got to do everything right. And like I said, I got to raise her right, but she's gonna be a woman one day. Yeah. I just gotta do the best that I can and what I know, and lean on others for help if I don't know no stuff, and be mindful of women's feelings and stuff like that. And now, like, I'm good now, and like I said, I'm still learning. I'm still a work in progress. It's never a time where I won't be done learning more about myself as well as women. So I
but at least you identified, because I think that it's okay for everyone not to have it all together, especially when you're young and you're a child. But I think where it kind of gets a little murky is that now you're an adult. You should try to at least identify, like, yeah, I may not be perfect, and actually seek out help or education or information to actually know how to, one, treat yourself, and then also treat others.
You finished high school, now you're in college, and you're playing ball?
School. I mean, sleep, work, back to the basketball court. Yeah. And then after that, by December, I was done. Like, I left. Like, I was like, you know what? This is not a good spot for me. And it humbled me so much because I came home. That was another depressive moment for me, because it's January. I'm back in Philadelphia. It's cold. And everybody, like, yo, when you just in school? So now I got to answer all these questions that I've been fighting to get to this point. And I'm just like, yo, I'm really home. Like, I'm watching the high school players play now, and I'm home. And they see me in local gyms just playing around. Why you not in school? I'm like, man, it wasn't a good situation. You know, guys don't want to hear that. Like, it was your fault and all this. So I'm just thinking in my head. My brother is probably my hardest critic. Like, when he say something, like when I was a kid, like, I used to be pissed. Like, oh, man, that's why you home. You ain't good enough. You ain't in school. Like, so, but it was motivation for me as well. So I was just take it as like, I knew what he was trying to do, but the way he was doing it, I was just like, it get under my skin. Anybody else, I ain't worrying about, but him.
Yeah.
So as the summer came, there was so many schools, junior colleges calling me. It's like, are you still available? So I was kind of, so I had like 50 schools that was recruiting me from junior college. So there was this one school in particular called Johnson County out in Kansas. And for me, I'm like, wow, I'm going to the Midwest. I don't know nothing about Kansas. And I'm just like, okay. One of my friends that went there, it's called Johnson County Community College. And he went there, and I was like, I play with him every day. And if he can go to Division I, I can go to Division I. So yeah. So as my second year came, my sophomore year, it was a great year. We won the national championship. I got MVP of the championship. I had a bag of offers, like a duffel bag. Like I still kept to this day just to show people like this can be you. You could be better than what I was and whatever. So I won the National Player of the Year. I got every award that year, and that was another struggle. So my cousin was murdered my sophomore year when we won the national championship. So he was living in North Carolina. So it was another one, and then we were close. So my brother, when he was murdered, it was like, wow, I'm replaying this stuff in my head. I'm like, this feels like my brother almost. Like this feels like that, and it's nothing I can do at the time. Once again, I'm back at this point. It's nothing I can do. So what do I turn to? Sports once again.
Yeah.
I get, so as I graduate from the junior college and I go to the Division I school, I struggled. Like, so mind you, this was I felt like I was drowning at this point. Like this was in depression and anxiety and PTSD.
So was it everything all bottled in one, but was the stem was really the death of your cousin?
The death of my brother, my cousin, and not seeing my mother and my father together, and amongst other things. And we wasn't rich, but I'm not gonna say we poor because we got everything. My dad, you gonna get what you needed. But my mom, she showered us with gifts and stuff like that. Come visit us, but I didn't get what I thought I was missing because I seen other families transferred over. I had a foot injury. I had my foot was swollen, kept swelling up, but it was from not sleeping and not eating, and because I felt like my talent was gonna carry over, and I didn't have to work like. So my junior year, I almost quit basketball. Like I had a breakdown. I had a mental breakdown with me and my sister. And I started crying, but I can't do this. I don't want to be here. It's like it's not for me. And it's like this is all bad in my head. Like all this is bad. So as I had my breakdown, I was just telling my coach and whatever. And it's just like when I went to his office, my head coach Council Martin, I went to his office and I said I need help. I was flat out. I just came in because we used to have long conversations. Still to this day, we have long conversations. I felt comfortable enough to go because I'm not looking at him as my coach. I'm looking at him somebody that can lead me in my life. And when I went in his office, it was no judgment. He's like, okay, we're gonna get you some help. And then next thing you know, I had a therapist, and that was the best thing.
I want to back up just 1 second. That mental breakdown that you had, for someone who doesn't even understand what that looks like, let's picture that. What did that mental breakdown actually look like, if you could actually picture it?
Well, first, I think it started with me at home. Like, so when I was in school and I was in my apartment, so I used to sit in the dark with my eyes open, just sit there like this, just sit in the dark.
Wow.
Still, because I think that was the only time I had peace, but I was mad and I was angry, and I see, and sometimes I used to write on a piece of paper, with my eyes closed and just scribble. Because I didn't know how to control it. And then when I used to get angry, say me and my ex-girlfriend got in arguments, I used to be enraged, but then as I come down, I'm like, who is this person?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't control it. So when I finally had a mental breakdown, it was just like I was screaming, I was yelling, and I almost passed out because I was exerting so much energy.
Wow.
And I didn't know how to channel it. And I was just like, yo, like, who is this person? And then when you come down, you like, yo, what happened? And for me, I was processing as it was happening, but I couldn't stop it. And I didn't want to have an episode where I put my hands on somebody or I did something to end my career. And it's like, yo, you just threw all this stuff down the drain. Mental health wasn't no big thing, especially in the Black community. He wasn't talking about that. I didn't even tell nobody that I was seeing a therapist. I was scared to tell my mom. I was scared to tell my brother. I was scared to tell my friends and all that, because all they thought was like, when I said I wanted to quit basketball, when I called home, I was like, I think I'm about to come home. They like, oh, it's your ex-girlfriend. I'm like, if it wasn't for her, I probably would have did something to myself, not knowing. At least I had somebody to kind of vent to and kind of understand, but I wasn't going to make it. Like, I knew I wasn't going to make it. And I was like, this is not who I am. And I said, I never felt like this, so much enraged and stuff like that. So I was just more like, I need help. And I'm all right with saying at that point, I'm like, either I'm going to hurt somebody or I'm going to hurt myself or I'm going to get the help. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to get the help. And whether I quit basketball or not, I'll deal with the consequences later. Like, I wasn't even worried about that. And I feel like my coach handled it perfect, and he gave me that. He created that open space for me to feel comfortable to come talk to him even about it. And like I said, it wasn't no judgment or anything. And from this day on, it's like I respect him, not even about the basketball part, that part alone.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I don't know no doctors in my neighborhood when I was growing up. I don't know no doctors. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know none personally. I grew up in my neighborhood, so it's very, very imperative that I become a counselor psychologist as a doctor, so kids can see me, because I know I'm not the only going through something.
Right.
So
right.
I think I just think as I grew in like my senior year, like I took off. Like, it was great. But I can remember after we first
so
time.
your senior year, you went back to playing basketball.
Yeah, I went back. So I had a therapist. I had a full-time therapist. I even forgot her name, but she was a great white woman. She was great. Like, I got to really unpack everything, and I was just like, I can't believe I'm exposing myself and being vulnerable like this to a person that I don't know. But she's like, everything's confidential, and I trusted my coach. I feel like if I'm telling you, I know you're not gonna put me in a bad situation. Right. I trust him that much. That much is like, yo, all right. And if it do get out, all right, well, whatever, man. Like, I'm gonna deal with it when it happens. So my senior took off. I got my body back in shape. I was physically right, mentally right. And I just came back with a new attitude. I didn't really go home. I probably went home for like a week in the summer, and I just focused on my school and, you know, getting better as a person. And senior took off. But I can remember when we won a conference championship. So this is the first time in history ever. So I was a part of that team. First time ever happened on senior night. Mm-hmm. So this crazy, let me explain to you this crazy day. So mind you, my father flies into town. So he flies into Kansas City, Missouri. After we won a championship, so everybody rushed the court. Everybody. All I can see was like I was having a panic attack. Really? I was like, all these people was over top of me, and you know, I'm like, yeah. Like, my shirt, and mind you, it wasn't from playing, it was drenched. Because we went to a restaurant that night. My shirt was drenched, covered in water, and I'm at the restaurant. People come to me, sign my autograph on my plate, and it's just like, sign my T-shirt. I'm like, sign a plate. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna sign it, but I'm just like, wow. I'm like, never had this much attention. Sign a plate or whatever. So I go in the bathroom, and my shirt, I look at my shirt. I almost took my shirt off in the bathroom, like, yo. And I'm rubbing my face, like, what's going on? As I do that, I'm like, oh, my heart beating fast. I'm like, I just can't stop sweating. I was like, that was my first real panic attack that I felt that I could feel in my body. And just from that point on, I was just like, wow, this is surreal, a surreal moment. And the people that was with me was like, yo, you all right? You ready to leave? I'm like, yeah. So I had to like go home, take a shower, and just sit there in like peace, just to come down off the highs. Like, wow. Like,
where did that come from? Why a panic attack when you're supposed to be excited and happy? And what was that?
I just think that was for me when I got diagnosed, because I was diagnosed with depression, PTSD, and anxiety. So I didn't know. Like, I always felt like I was suppressing my feelings as a kid because, like I said, I was chasing perfection from people. Like, I was looking for people's approval of me to validate who I was. And I never, like I said, I never want to be the bad kid. I was trying to be Mr. Perfect in a sense. And I think all that stuff encompassed in one, and it's just like, it just compounded over time. And as I got to this point, and as a senior and stuff in college, I just was like, yo, man, this is real. And, you know, after that, it was just like, okay, I graduated, got my degree, basketball was over. It's like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
What's next? So,
wow.
So that was a little dive into like my college career as a player and stuff, and played 1 year professional.
And were you still in therapy?
No, I wasn't in therapy at all. I should have been. But when I came back home, I was too scared to even do it. I was just like, school, I was secluded from everybody. So I was like, I can get therapy. And, you know, I don't want to see this. I don't want nobody to see me going to the hospital or going to a doctor. That's where I thought a therapist would be at. I don't want nobody seeing me. They might call me crazy. So I didn't really want to talk about it. So I didn't have a therapist or whatever. So as I got up to this, so let's fast forward now, get up to this point. 2 years ago, I got the graduate assistant position at University of Missouri, where I was taking classes and I got to see what coaching was really about. Like
how did you get there? You're coaching as an assistant coach, so you're still basically in basketball. But how did you get from there to all of a sudden to the next career?
So for me, I always, for me and my coach, always stayed in touch. And like I said, I didn't treat this relationship like he was my coach playing basketball.
Yeah.
I need coaching in my life. I need to get to where you're at, and I model myself kind of like how he shaped his family. Like, as far as he has wife, kids, he's successful. He's not making no excuses. He's showing me how to navigate by example. So all I need is put something out there, let me see the example, and I can follow it. I'm not one of you can talk let me see what it looks like. Let me be visual. I'm a visual learner, so I need to see. So I was talking to him I always asked him about a graduate position because he was at 3 schools. So he went from Missouri State to Tennessee, Tennessee to Cal, and then Cal to Mizzou. So I always stayed in touch with him. We talked every other day. Like I'm like, this is my coach, but I'm not playing no more, but he coached me my life. Like, when you come to town, I'm gonna come see you. When I come to your town, I'm gonna come see you. I'm chilling with the family. And so when I asked him about it, he's like, it was at the last minute. It was like August. He was like, I was like, Coach, you made a decision on who you gonna bring in for the graduate assistant. He's like, you. I'm like, so I'm like, I tell my girlfriend, I gotta make this decision. I gotta go because I'm learning from somebody who I've been under, and now I'm older, and I already know his language of what he's saying in the locker room. I know what he expects, and I know he put me through it. Yeah. Like, he put me through it, but he got me help where he didn't curse or anything like that. He didn't belittle who I was. So for me, I was comfortable. I was comfortable with myself, and I was just like, this was a good feeling, like being back with somebody who coached me during basketball. Now he's gonna coach me as a man, like to be in his program to help his guys out and the staff, and bring a different energy to the locker room and stuff like that. So as I got my first year, it was kind of rough because he's so laid back. He don't micromanage you. So he kind of free flowing, let you be you, be the best, pour into the guys. That's his message. Pour into the guys, pour into the program. So whatever that means, I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna just be myself.
Yeah.
I think I'm a likable guy. I don't really have no bad relationships with nobody, and I'm here for a reason. Like, I'm here to get my education, and I'm getting a master's. You can't beat that. Like, I'm getting a master's, and I'm learning the coaching behind the scenes and like what it takes to be at this level. So, and traveling. So I get there, and so first year was done. I was like, I reflect. I'm like, what do I want to do after this? So I kind of see myself in the mental health space, because I said I seen guys that I see them struggling at points, and guys would come to me kind of like, how you handle the situation? So mind you, I'm like, I was there before.
Yes.
I was there before. So now because we had 3 psychologists on staff for sports. We had a minimum performance coach, an assistant minimum performance. And mind you, I didn't know that was even a thing on college campuses. I didn't know. So I'm like, I'm talking to them. I finally get to meet them. I'm like, I got to meet y'all. Like, I want to meet y'all. Like, I had a psychologist. Like, I want to make it cool. Like, it's all right. Like, I had a therapist. So I meet them, and I bonded with all of them, psychologists and the minimum performance coach. So I'm like, anything that y'all need from me, because they telling me some valuable information to help our guys out or whatnot. So I think it's very valuable. So as I started building a relationship, my second year coming around, it wasn't until October where I decided to even think about becoming a doctor. Like, I decided to take this route and made it comfortable. So on my social media, when you see it, I talk about mental health all the time, but I talk about specifically Black mental health because we still don't seek help because of the taboo and the stigma that's up against it. But if I'm an athlete, and most of us watch sports, and when you're watching sports, if I come out and say something, people gonna pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I have a therapist. I'm going to my therapist right now. The same way you go to the doctor, if you got an injury, I got a major injury, I ruptured my Achilles, I'm going to the doctor. If my brain, I need some help with my brain, I'm going to the therapist, period. Like, that's just what it is. And I just felt like I was a liaison. I was young enough to reach the guys, but I was old enough to be in my place to be like, I'm an adult. Like, I'm not a kid. So I know the boundaries between the two. And I can echo the same message. I could be the liaison between the two, the coaches and the players, and still meet them at the middle. So that's how I found myself at this point to currently in the mental health space and becoming a counselor psychologist, because I was like, I can do this work. I know we need Black men and Black women to do these jobs, because when you're dealing with, if you're dealing with the same situation, you're not going to open up to me unless we have something in common. I feel like that.
Yes. Yes.
You're only going to feel comfortable if we got some type of synergy or something linked together. So that's how I feel. Yeah, something common. Like
you were saying earlier, like you like to see Black men that you feel like you can emulate.
right.
And now the fact that you're in that mental health space, you're able to actually speak to young boys and they're actually able to look at you. And because of your age, the fact that you're young and you still have a great personality, I can still learn from you while also being personable from you and even check my mental health. So I think, yeah, that's definitely it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at in my journey right now.
That's where as a lot of growth, because I know that earlier you were saying that growing up you spent a lot of time trying to impress people, not let people down, your family, friends, whomever, and now you're staying true to yourself, sticking to your words, and it's just like, this is who I am, this is what I stand on, and you just got to respect that. So I really do love that. I do love that. I definitely thank you so much for agreeing to this interview, definitely letting me know and letting us know about your story and how you got to where you are now. I really feel like there's a lot of gems that you dropped, even things that I learned. I know that like journaling is important, but the fact that like a Black man, like you're doing it and you're finding it beneficial, I'm like, okay, I think I need to start journaling again.
It's soothing for the mind, but you get to release your thoughts, and people look at it soft, but I'm like, all right, I'm soft then. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I don't mind the judgment.
Yeah, and I think we're going away from that, which is to me toxic masculinity, like the fact that like you're supposed to be macho and do this and do that as a man, like it's just so BS. Like, and so
because when they look in the mirror and they crying and they have a breakdown, they be like, they're not macho. When you like, I just feel like this when you're a baby, when you have the wound, they smack you in your butt to make you cry. Same thing. Like it's the same thing. So it's just like, I'm encouraging everybody. So be looking forward to the stuff that I got coming out, just dealing with mental health in the Black community, as well as it's not just, it's my demographic is the Black community, but it's open to anybody. But,
tell us, where can we find you, your Instagram and all of that?
So you can find me at Mizzou2U on Instagram, or you can find me on Collab Management, COLLAMGMT. Collab Management, and just follow me. It don't matter either page. And like I said, I'm still growing, and like I said, I want to just build a brand where it's meaningful, and I'm not chasing anything. I'm chasing our community to be better and be great with the help of the resources and whatever I can pull on. So
Yes, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it.